Hello, Internet. This is again Kopitiam Council. Yes, it's already August 2023, and today you are with me, Haffisz, and
He's with me, Adi.
yes, always we are the duo that keep appearing on your Spotify, but somehow uh, disappear quite a long time as well. So the last time I think we posted a podcast was months ago. So there's a lot of things to talk about. So I will not dwell on our absence from the social media. So Adi, let's get into our first topic for the night.
Okay, there's a good reason for the absence, but we won't talk about the embarrassing episode. But okay, here. Okay, in the past few months, what have we seen? We've seen things. Let's start with home here. So
Okay.
right now in Malaysia, we are about to enter the state elections for Kedah, Negeri Sembilan, Selangor, Penang, and Terengganu, Kelantan, yeah, and Terengganu.
Sembilan.
Yeah, Negeri Sembilan. So, okay, this has been quite ramping up. If you look at through, I don't know, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, the battleground is already started.
Yeah, I mean it's nomination day or like last Saturday, so it's been intense 14 days of campaigning. I think Bulletin Utama or Awani identify 190 hot seats or across all these 6 states. So that's a lot of hot seats.
I think it's mostly hot seats because this election is quite hot juga, considering what's at stake here, who's the players involved, and the situation that we're in. Like, okay, would you ever expect, I don't know, Barisan Nasional working together with Pakatan Harapan? This would be the maiden voyage together, isn't it?
Oh my God! I just saw Bung Mukhtar Radin. I repeat once again, internet. Bung Mukhtar Radin was giving us a ceramah on Pakatan Harapan platform. I a year ago, if you told me this is like the wildest dream of any politicians or any party or any Malaysians. But to see Bung last night campaigning in Selangor on PHBN site, it's truly a remarkable sight.
Yeah, interesting times indeed. Okay, so let's just take a look at this. Which state are you most interested in now, and why?
Uh, uh, I know a lot of academics, a lot of experts would say this is going to be a 3-3. Status quo will be remain, but we could not underestimate what we learned last November that PN is somehow have their own extraction. So Selangor have been viciously attacked by Perikatan Nasional, and I'm worried about Selangor and what PN could do to gain at least this is their M 33 seats. So if you think of 33 seats, and a lot of these seats are marginal seats uh, in 2018. So put aside all this urban area like Subang Jaya or Kota Damansara, but the places like Skinchan or Jeram, these are the key states that are marginally won by Pakatan Harapan in 2018. That's together with what do you call this? DAP, Amana, and PS. Now with BN, could they garner the support? Could they garner the what they call transferability of the votes, or BN voting PH supporting BN, so that they can win comfortably in Selangor? So what do you think, Adi? I'm
I,
worried about Selangor out of all six.
Looking at how it came out in PRU with PAS winning, the party winning the most seats, and then now we can see kind of Bersatu and PN as a whole kind of sapping away the Malay support base that UMNO has held the monopoly on. So I think they can really magnify that kind of effect for this time, because right now we can see that for me, PH doesn't seem to be as organized as they usually are. Right? I don't really see like a commander in chief when it comes to leading the charge, politically speaking. For PN, like PN, oddly enough, as the opposition, they are playing a defensive game. They're picking the battles the skirmishes where they know they can have the most maximum effect. but they're not going, how do you say, all out on the whole the rhetoric. Maybe you would have like Hadia Wang and and Tun Mahathir going on the whole Malay nationalist sentiment, but they so far, I think, they're leveraging on already an existing sentiment that's already going around. That maybe PH is not and BN by extension is not able to represent the Malay interest anymore. They don't have a confidence of the Malay mandate, and now we see with I think Kedah with the arrest of its incumbent Menteri Besar Sanusi. I think that shows that all these federal level rhetoric that PH, which operates very well in, doesn't seem to translate well on the grassroots level. I think that's been PH's weakness. And thinking that BN would be part of this unity government, they would be able to channel their grassroots support. But it seems UMNO is not the same grassroots juggernaut it once was.
Yeah, but I want to touch on because you mentioned being disorganized, but I bit disagree on that, because if you see all the seats allocation, right, there was no clash between PH and BN all across 6 states. So this is amazing, because in PN there was some clashing past against Bersatu. I think it was in Langkawi. So can you imagine all these hundreds of seats, yet not one single seat that PH and BN are clashing, despite they are newlywed in November. Uh, so yeah, it's 7 months.
No,
It's very
yeah, I
short.
think. No, sorry. What I mean is that they're playing it very safe. None of it is really willing to take the lead here. They're okay. I'll let you do your own thing. Let's just hope it works out for you. I do my own thing here. But there's no, how do you say, that consolidated front that they have. I don't feel like it's a very strong.
Because I think I'm not so sure who the strategist here win, because if it's within Pakatan Harapan, we know it has to be Rafizi, right? But in the dynamic of PH and BN, I'm not so sure who's the strategist here, because they seem to if you see the seat allocation in Kelantan Terengganu, almost 100% given to BN. So BN PH entrusted BN to win these 2 seats. Whether they can do it or not, it's we don't know yet. But I have a sense that PH some sort of like giving a litmus test to BN with these 2 seats. If you can maybe not win, maybe if you can like grab some 15-20% of the seats from PAS, then we gonna have something to talk towards general elections in the future. So this is, I think, make or break some sort of to BN, so that they can prove themselves. Otherwise, they're gonna be just a placeholder in Kerajaan Perpaduan, and PH have more reason to not secure the deal with BN. So I worry about that part of PH and BN, how they're gonna work out. That's why you don't see a clear front, because PH gonna do what they've done best for the last 3 or 4 elections in Selangor. It worked. Why we want to change? It worked. So why we want to change? It worked. But let's focus on Kelantan, Terengganu, and Kedah, because we have a blue team in our team. So I think that's how.
Yeah, I think it's interesting dynamic to see them sort of working together, but they're not trying to step on each other's toes. And of course, it's a litmus test to see if BN can deserves its place in PH.
Oh,
but I think more so it's a litmus test for its head of the party for UMNO, Zahid Hamidi. Imagine this is the person that's already been criticized as already kind of hamstringing UMNO itself. So imagine if he's not able to garner, perform well this time round. That's something to think about. I wouldn't want to be him right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was it's just like few days ago that he made some remark in the ceramah, some sort of like rasuah to the Persatuan Motosikal in Terengganu. So see, he gave those speeches in places like Terengganu, Kelantan. So I don't know. He think he could get away with it with technicality or less exposure in the East Coast. But whatever he did, he is one of the emperor in terms of uh, operational. Like there's not many politicians in Malaysia, including Anwar Ibrahim, who are very good at operational level for politics. So Zahid Hamidi is one of them. He's one of the best in the country. And see how Mahathir, I mean, why did I say Mahathir? Why, how Anwar Ibrahim used him as part of his chessboard. So Zahid could be the horse, the pawn, or could be the queen. So we don't know. That's the beauty of their relationship, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see as we enter into the polls in less than 2 weeks, right? As of recording this, it'll be less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, interesting times ahead.
Okay, so that's PRN. I mean, well, is there anything else we can add to PRN, or because I would like to segue this into something that Anwar, I think, recently announced, which is the economy Madani. What do you think about this? I went through the brochure and a bit of the speech, but I've seen already being lauded by some of the more progressive academics. Even KJ, I think, was had quite a positive reception towards this whole framework.
I think the only maybe not the only two opinions about this too. One is I agree about what KJ has said, the timing of this announcement, not just coincidentally near to the election,
yeah,
but also I think the economy should be announced first, then NETR, the National Energy Transformation Plan, should be later, because NETR is part of economy Madani. But apart from that, I think also it is quite ambitious. What I think 7 target that try to be met before 2050, right? 2040, if I'm not mistaken.
2050.
Yeah, 2050. So these 7 goals is not it's not something like if you look at silo, it's very, very hard to climb. But the thinking here, I think, in the next 20-30 years, there's a lot of dynamics that can happen, because Malaysia position itself as a center of Islamic finance. Now that with our plan, we want to be the hub of energy transition, what have you, solar energy, electric vehicle, all this that gonna drive us to achieve that target in 2050. But the problem here with the ambition is how other countries gonna stack up against us. I know Indonesia is not gonna sitting with their hands tied. Vietnam also doing very, very wonderfully well. We're gonna talk about Thailand a little bit, but on separate timing later down this episode. But Thailand also, despite their political turmoil, their crazy dressing king, these are the things that Malaysia could propel into. But also, I'm skeptical on how are we gonna go against other emerging markets, like even Philippines and of course Taiwan. Yeah. What do you think about economy Madani?
Okay, well, I mean, in his speech, he was quite. Anwar did emphasize something about a regional agenda, which is within ASEAN, right? So he wants to go. He did say that he wants to go beyond just the conventional trade deals. He wants to go for more regional, social, economic integration in the region, right? So maybe policy-wise, going down the line, it's more to do with trying to establish Malaysia as a leading player in the region, because sometimes we look at Southeast Asia, we look at ASEAN. It's a concept where everyone gets together, but no one really wants to hold the responsibility of leadership. So that could be a avenue that Anwar could utilize to get some relevance and ascendancy for Malaysia. Because when I look at this speech here, it's a lot of focus on looking sort of looking inwards to improve what we've lost in a way. It's like the wording sets the tone that, oh, okay, we've lost these opportunities in the past few years. We have to regain some kind of relevance or importance, and also reestablish the confidence, the confidence in the government. And it's the wording is very in line. It's very aligned with ideas of like social justice, equality and fairness, and some this similar talking points to Ismail Sabri's concept of leaving no one behind. But it's very rooted, I think, channeled by how Anwar was always that how do you say that fighter for reforms and for equity for everyone regardless of the demographical circumstances and background. So I think this is him finally being able to channel those feelings, those aspirations and ideals into a framework that would be guiding, that would be a guiding principle moving forward. Because that's just the language it seems to me. And I think by looking inward is also looking towards tackling the bureaucracy, because of course winning the seat of prime minister and forming government is one battle, but the next battle is struggling with the bureaucracy to make sure that your reforms and the implementations of your initiatives are going through. So by also looking at institutional reform, it gives a better pathway to push for the other initiatives that he wants. So tackling the implementing agencies, or trying to curb out certain elements which are hindering progress. So it's also setting a foundation, because if you're looking at a aspiration for the next 25 years, you're going to have to lay out some groundwork first to be able to make the transition towards 2050 a much smoother ride. And the commitment, I think the commitment was about 5 billion ringgit to jumpstart everything. That's not something to scoff at. So it's very bold at the same time. Of course, the timing is quite coincidental. But then again, they've announced this I think even before the idea of PRN came into public consciousness. But yeah, it's there's a lot of. I mean, Anwar himself, he's always great at grandstanding and marketing these great ideas of progress. So looking forward to see how the implementation works and how he tackles the idea of implementation here, and being transparent about it, I think is very important.
Yeah, I think 2 points here, and I want to touch on what you have said. The hurdle on FDI to come in, right? Before this, you have to deal with NETR and other agencies, and it's going to be a lot of a bureaucracy on top of setting up a company in Malaysia. But let's take Tesla, for example. This is, a lot of countries, including Indonesia, try to woo Tesla in the past 1 or 2 years. We all know about it. The Zoom meeting with Tesla. Jokowi went to Indonesia, went to Texas, Tesla headquarters. So all this play a role in the last 2 years. And what happened now that Tesla officially in, not just their cars, but also the internet, Starlink. This is somewhat that what we other people skeptical of as well, because Tesla has the exception of doing all those bureaucracy. So normally outsiders, foreign company, if they want to set up business here in Malaysia, at least there's like I think 30 or 40% of local shareholders. So it has to be a joint venture. But with this, it's Tesla is 100% foreign entity. There is no collaboration with local company. But I'm not so sure about how we Malaysians benefit from this in multi-layered level. Technology transfer, sizable wages, not just assembly products for low wages. So these are the things that need to be questioned, and I think the government has to be transparent as well on, because this is an exception for a company. So you have to be to tell the public what's happening, And also, uh, for this economy Madani and what you have said, Eddie, this I bit worried that in NETR, there's only one part that they say Sabah's energy security or something along that line. So meaning there's a Sabah in that plan, but I'm not so sure what's the beyond securing our energy, because as we all know, Sabah is at least 20 years lag behind in terms of what happened in Semenanjung. So if they in Semenanjung they are thinking about superchargers for their expensive EV, but in Sabah, uh, let alone EV, people are still talking about, hey, your place can have a blackout tonight
It's like they
because
put
my
Sabah as an afterthought in the whole plan, right? It's like put at the
exactly
back burner. Yeah.
exactly. So when we talk about all this NETR phase one economy Madani, how Sabah and Sarawak will benefit from it? Of course, the transfer of fund, it's Anwar Ibrahim has been very, very generous to secure a lot of funds to Sabah and Sarawak, and we are so grateful for that. But we need to catch up. Sabah and Sarawak needs more than money. It needs a policy, it needs infrastructure, everything double down, triple down to quadruple down to what happening in Peninsula. So in Peninsula, they were talking about like how they generate solar power income, and then they can sell off to Singapore. How about Sabahan? We have the land. We don't have natural borders with Philippines, but then how are we gonna sell to Indonesia? Are we gonna play a bigger role in developing Nusantara? This need to be discussed as well, not just like how Klang Valley or people in Johor or Penang can benefit from this. These are the privileged people already. I'm sorry if you're from Johor or Klang Valley, but that's the truth. That's the truth. That's the fact of the matter. That Sabah and Sarawak needed more than Semenanjung. So as much as we welcome all this very detailed planning by Prime Minister and Rafizi Ramli through his economy ministry, but hey, Sabah needs to be in the fold, Sarawak needs to be in the fold, and not just to be in the fold, we need to be the front, because we need to do a lot of catching up to do. Don't you agree, Eddie?
Yeah, I think we don't even need to look far like KL or Johor. I mean, you look at next door, Sarawak
Yeah,
already quite ahead in a lot of things right now in terms, especially.
exactly,
I mean,
man.
I
Exactly.
I don't know how to much the degree or extent it is, but energy pooling from Sarawak to Singapore,
Nah,
whether or not that's it's just trying to like prop Sarawak's image. To be able to have that kind of story spread around, especially in Sabah, it's quite baffling to be honest. But I think when it comes to attracting all these investors here, I think we also have to be quite smart juga. Like okay, we can attract Tesla to Malaysia or whatever, right, in Malaysia, but do we necessarily have like other industries that can take advantage of this investment? Because of, I mean, in terms of okay, Tesla is a huge manufacturing company that also has a huge electronics division, right? They definitely need to make use of, I need to extraction of resources like I don't know, rare earth materials and copper, nickel, bauxite, which I think Indonesia is better situated to be a provider because they have one of the biggest nickel reserves in the world. They have quite a good protectionist policy around it, saying that okay, you have if you want to be able to tap into our market share of nickel, the nickel reserves, you have to set up your operations here. Malaysia, I don't know exactly. Okay, I don't know how what's the potential of having investors come here and also take advantage of the abundance of resources here in a way that is not exploitative. I know Sabah, we've already starting that with the SK Nexalis copper foil plant, but what like okay, that's because we're naturally okay abundant in those kinds of resources, but we know that extracting and refining that can lead to issues such as waste management. That can lead to issues of land management as well. Like you said, we have so much land, yeah, but a lot of that land is also protected and it's also privately owned land, which is being held by generations of families that's not so willing to give it up, and also it's not properly defined, like it's not properly delineated. Like So okay, you could have a project be developed here that could help, jumpstart, kickstart the economy, but you're going to have to find a way to placate and appease the interest groups that has and communities that have been there. So it's for Sabah. It's a mix of trying to get enough confidence to push forward with these projects. At the same time, it's making sure that we also benefit from this deal here. We're not just okay, we get this factory, but at the end of the day, it's the multinational corporation setting up that's getting the best output from this deal. So it's I think it's we can at least have a start into how we want to approach these things, because we don't really have it yet, a sophisticated ecosystem for it. But we can start with seeing what we want out of our investments, what kind of expectations and values do we have. Like Sarawak, I think they are full steam ahead, saying that okay, our values here is to make sure that we become self-sufficient, we become independent in a lot of aspects from West Malaysia. Sabah, I think we need to do a bit of exploration of what we want our investments to be.
Yeah, definitely agree on that Sarawak point. They are so far ahead of us. Like we already both of us, like Sarawak and Sabah, lag behind Semenanjung, but definitely Sabah is the last one. So that's something we need to ponder about. Moving swiftly on, we talk about a little bit of Tesla EV. Okay, just a little bit of EV, another EV news, Adi. In the last 2 months, there's a lot of price war between electric car manufacturer. So the latest one is BYD, Your Dreams, China biggest EV manufacturer. They just launched a 100,000 ringgit car. So this is one of the cheapest car, especially by specs, that you can get your hand on as soon as August this month, because they just launched it last week. So this is a ready to be ready stock car by BYD, and you can buy this as cheap as 100,000. Tesla with their Model Y, they just launched it 199,000. I think last 2 weeks in Pavilion. This is also according to some research, one of the cheapest Tesla you can buy in the world. Not even especially in UK, Europe, it's gonna be very expensive. But Malaysia, because it's distance to Gigafactory in Shanghai, this is just one stop from Shanghai to here, and we can get that deal for Tesla. So if you are a electric vehicle enthusiast and you want to get yourself a electric car, these are your options now. At least you have options now, because prior to this,
we got EV salesman right here. You're not having a referral program, is it?
No. It's just I'm a EV enthusiast. Though I don't own a unit yet. But these are, if you want to buy, and these are the options alongside Hyundai and whatnot. But it's the game for EV now. It's gonna change rapidly. I think 2023 is a great year for EV, and I cannot wait for 2024. There's going to be a lot of model coming in. There's going to be a lot of brands coming in, and the infrastructure can change that a lot, because when we put a lot of EV on the road, the superchargers, the chargers, and just a news, yesterday, Riverson announced there will be a EV charger in their parking lot. Riverson. So if your offices in Imago, in KK Times Square, Riverson, you can charge your car there. So that's a little bit about what's happening in EV world.
If you can afford an EV, lah.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of lithium-ion batteries on the road. You park there.
Yep. So since we talk about cars as on lighter news, let's talk a little bit about FIFA World Cup, Women's World Cup, Adi. Have you been watching it?
No. I've been watching football at all since the last World Cup.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, this is one of the the argument of feminism. I mean, feminists, like they say, hey, why don't female football players get equally paid? I mean, this is why. The exposure, the brand of FIFA Women World Cup per se is not equal to the men's. So there's no If you are advertising it, there's much less value for you to gain from it financially. So that's something we need to. I mean, FIFA, not we. FIFA need to raise awareness about women.
It's for me it's chicken and egg scenario. It's like, okay, not a lot of people watch women's football. Is it because, like, what's the reason? Is it because it's not as exciting, or is it because there's not enough marketing, not enough advertising, or not enough people watching it? So
I think because most football fans are men, and
yeah.
men have
No,
been
okay, but
spoiled.
here's the thing. Okay, you say that it's mostly men, right? But is it what is it? Is there not enough female fans because the female football isn't as marketed? That's the chicken and egg here. I'm trying to illustrate.
No, it comes down to this. Like, because of
Mhm.
most of football fans are men, so they are being spoiled by men's performance on the pitch.
Mhm.
So if you can think like the maneuver of Messi and the sprint of Ronaldo, you don't see that often in women's. What you
Ah,
see on women's is what some Reddit writer would say, an equivalent of 10-year-old boy performance. So that's something FIFA women needs to look at, and how they perform. Just talking about performance, Adi, this uh, edition of World Cup, Japan finished the group stage with on top, conceding 0 goals, and they get all the 9 points. I think that's amazing because
oh.
only Japan made it through. I mean, Asian
Mhm.
country made it through, and guess what? Our neighbor Philippines, of course, they qualified for the FIFA World Cup, though they finished the last, but they registered a win against New Zealand. So that's their first win in the World Cup, Women's
Oh.
World Cup. The
Then then
Philippines.
then I think Asia, we should be focusing more on this as well. Then they put a lot of
I mean,
effort on.
not all Asian.
I mean, like
I
you
mean,
can see
Malaysia
that
is part.
there's a bigger Asian presence there than the men's World Cup.
Yeah. There's China, there's Vietnam, also there's South Korea. Though most of these countries gonna lose out in the group stage soon. Well, they're playing in the next few days. But yeah, I mean, Philippines. Come on. I mean, if we have the excuse like, oh, that's Japan, oh, that's Korea. I mean, hey, it's Philippines. Where's
Yeah.
Malaysia?
Usually when I think of Philippines sport, I usually think of basketball. I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's American thing, I guess. It's American thing, a legacy. But to have Philippine football, wow.
Yeah, in Spanish as well. Yeah, Spanish
Mhm.
legacy.
Yeah.
Maharlika.
But I mean, okay, who do you think is going to win? Who do you think? Who's a favorite?
I don't know. Because due to normally I would say just US, but they drew their first two matches, so I'm gonna go with either England or Brazil.
Ah, okay, very classic choices. Than even no,
Of course.
the regular World Cup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good to hear that Japan, Philippines. Okay,
Asian. Go Asian.
Asia, you go Asia. I
Yeah.
think it was huge Asian support as well during the World Cup in 2022 last year.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, it's
It's
a huge surge. But it's nice to see that surge of Asian pride coming out now in these things.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think well, I mean, sadly, I don't follow the Women's World Cup, but if any of you follow the Women's World Cup, you could let us know which is your favorite team to win. The team that you're hoping would be number one in this one, and what you think about the Women's World Cup in general. But okay, moving on. So we went for sports. Usually, sports comes last, isn't it, in the newspaper?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what else we have?
uh, yeah. While we are outside Malaysia, let's fly to Africa. So just want to talk a little bit what's happening mostly in the central region, where Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger are. So this is the Burkina Faso president made a statement that any attack or any attempt to attack Niger is an attack to all of us. So meaning all of us here, Burkina Faso, Mali, and together. So this is a strong stance from a very young president, and his his swag with his cap and his tight shirt,
The
this
typical warlord look.
typical warlord look. But come on, I mean, he did very well. He carried
Mhm,
that style very well with
mhm,
his never smile, like always grim face, even though giving a statement of his country. So this issue play a big role in France dynamic as well, because what France are trying to attempt, and now US just offered these African leaders more incentive, like sort of like professionalism transfer to Africa. So a lot of people say like, hey, your counter offer to China and Russia's offer is um, not financially, but professionalism transfer. What do you mean by that? So a lot of enraged, even more enraged people in Central Africa, that this is sort of way like saying that they are not civilized enough. Their leaders are not, don't have the freedom to decide for their own. They don't have the capability to dictate their own future. So these deals by China and Russia to cancel the debt, to give more infrastructure, it's just merely a trap, a debt trap. So, don't go for this Russia and China. They're gonna enslave you in a different form than us, because us are, holier than thou. So go with that. So these are the new narrative that being played by Britain as well, Britain and France, that try to hold on to this neo-colonialism effect as much as long as they can. So I think it's the Central African leaders already started waking up, and hopefully that they can get rid of this Francophile or Anglophile supporters in their country. What do you think about these dynamics?
I think it's West Africa. I think it's not Central Africa. West Africa. Okay, so I mean, Mali and Burkina Faso, they had their coup this year and last year. The military took over. They named their military leaders as the president, and they said it's because they feel that their leaders are too pro-West. They're following the Western style too much, and they're not focusing on the local narratives here, which I think fair enough, because I know all these are former French colonies, and the anti-French sentiment in after independence has been quite strong, despite the West pumping billions of dollars to stabilize the region, just to contain ISIS and Al Qaeda and other militant elements in the region. But it's beneficial for these Western countries, or any power bloc, to maintain that these West African countries stay within their gravitational sphere, because Niger has one of the highest deposits of uranium. What nuclear power wouldn't want to have a great relationship with that for extraction, or other rare resources as well? So it's this tug of war between Western liberalism encroaching, is the white man ideology coming to the third world, showing us how we should do things, and the locals saying that, hey, this is too Western centric. Look at all these Western values, and what has it given us? We're not Western. We don't exactly follow Western ideals. It's the imposition, I feel, of this whole the democratic system is the best system there is. But we've seen that any attempt, usually, like a lot of the money that the West has poured into Mali, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Guinea, or uh, Niger, um, doesn't necessarily translate to stabilizing the democratic institutions there. We see a lot of these West African countries. They tend to, politically speaking, it's very tribalistic, and they tend to award positions of power to close kin or who you know. So I think for it's similar to how we have it in Malaysia. It's very patrimonial. It's a very how do you say it? What's the word again? It's that kind of system that we're all familiar with. Except I feel they're less apologetic about it. It's a bit more blatant over in African countries. But nonetheless, this is the best time for China and Russia to position themselves. But one is that a lot of these military leaders they're supported by Russia and supported by China. They definitely have the interest to project influence there, especially with China now that they have secured Djibouti as their own Djibouti's seaport there and connected to Sri Lanka. And at the same time, I think it was the um, I forgot what train of thought, but yeah, I mean it's perfect for them. Oh yeah, that it's prime as well to see because the Wagner Group is very active in Africa. Um, I know a lot of people have come to know the Wagner Group because of Ukraine, but for those that don't know, they are also very active in Central Africa and West Africa and a lot of other war-torn countries in the region. And you would see a lot of if you look up a lot of in Mali and Burkina Faso, in right now in Niger, you see them tearing down like French flags and Western flags and putting out Russian flags now. So the it's kind of level of critical mass to see the dominoes fall. That the Western hegemony is being challenged right now. So this is what my take on it right now. But as of right now in Niger, it's still ongoing, right? The coup is still ongoing.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You were saying?
So I was just asking. I mean, we still
Yeah.
don't know
This is still
if
ongoing.
yeah.
Yeah, and just to, on specifically over Wagner, that they made a lot of goal in Mali. So whatever war that they're involved in, they certainly they're interested in the payout. So there's now a coup again. So definitely Wagner gonna position themselves as the private military. So that's Africa and a little bit of Western Europe news for the audience today. All right. So
Okay.
are we gonna fly back into Malaysia, or are we still gonna go around the world?
I think we made a mention that I think we make a stop in Thailand before we come back.
Oh, right, yeah, sure.
Because right now, okay, so yeah, I told you right, I was in Thailand for a few days, and it was my first time in Bangkok. It was amazing. People there is amazing. The food is amazing. Definitely have to go up to Thailand. But what was also interesting that I thought, okay, when I was there, I was hoping to see that Thailand would finally have a new government because I think Thailand, if you know, first Malaysians, we were quite making a huge hoo-ha about how we had a hung parliament for nearly a month. Thailand is coming almost to its fourth month of having a hung parliament. They still haven't decided who is the new government and who is the new prime minister. And I thought I was going, I don't know, I was going only there for like 2 3 days, and I was hoping to kind of see that, or at least not long after. But now I hear that the candidate for prime minister that was supposed to be like in the running for it, Pita Limjaroenrat, who is the leader of the Move Forward Party, which is a very progressive, very liberal party that seeks to break away from the military control, is now out of the running for being prime minister. He apparently has a scandal, and now it seems that all the protesting, all the advocacy for more liberal and democratic reforms in Thailand is going to be. It feels like it's going to wait. It's in vain because if not, they'll have to concede to the Pheu Thai party, which is more on the conservative side. So yeah, this is. Okay, imagine if this happens in Malaysia. Imagine if we thought Anwar was in the running for PM, and this has been building up for so long, and next thing you know, some random scandal comes up just because owning a share in the company, and he's no longer prime minister. He can no longer be prime minister. What do you think about that?
Okay. Peter facing two charges now. The first one is the having a share in the company. That one, that's less serious rather than the second one, because the second one is being brought up by the Conservative Party, the military Conservative Party, Prayut Party, that he is charged of some sort of mocking or going against the monarchy due to his proposal to amend Les Majes law. So like this is a classic move by the military. If you're gonna want to touch on this, we're gonna clamp you down with the very law that you try to man. So this is a vicious circle, crazy. I mean, Adi, this is not the first time happened. I mean, his predecessor, Peter predecessor, I forgot his name, also have the same charges of owning some shares in the company and then being thrown out from the run out for his party leadership. Now it's happening to Peter. I think I don't know why they don't foresee this. This is the one of the oldest trick in the Thailand's political books, but they don't somehow foresee this. And then the last majestic law again, you propose such a thing, like, if you're a conservative Italian, this is something unspoken of, and here you come winning most of the seats with your young youth. uh, he's just 42, right? And then the horizon is in front of him, and then the 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 only thing that the conservative try to stop him is just deny his voting 300 something, because the Senate belongs to the military, and then after that charge him with uh, the law. So I mean, this is once again a military conservative party that trying to stop any political personnel that becomes like Thaksin. They remember what Thaksin was when at his height, and then they're so afraid of another Thaksin, the much younger Thaksin, that gonna be ruling Thailand for the next 20 or 30 years. So as much as the Thaksin now living in self-exile in Dubai, in Hong Kong, but it's still haunting the military, the other conservative, of course, not the his daughter Conservative Party. They really want him to be back, and they confirm that Thaksin's gonna be back in August, mid-August. So I don't know how that's gonna play out. I have such a suspicion that Thaksin's gonna come in and then become the prime minister if they can strike a deal with the military conservative. I don't know. Some expert gonna say that the other candidate for prime minister is the non the conservative but non-military leader from the third party, the third largest party that won the election. So this is something uncertainty that investor don't want to see in Thailand. Adi, can you imagine if Thailand's politics was just as smooth as I don't know, maybe Japan ruling the country for 50 years? Where do you think Thailand is now if they have such a smooth sailing politics?
It's funny you mentioned Japan because when I was in Bangkok, I was in Payatai, right? There was this, the BTS, which is the overhead rail system, right, which is like the MRT, right? And the way the stations are set up is like a huge like artery spreading out everywhere. It reminds me of like how I would watch Japan's public transport system. So great comparison there. But I mean, smooth transitions of power in former Thailand and Indochina has never really been strong. So like when moving from one democratically elected government to another, there's always like this military coup happening. Luckily in Malaysia, it hasn't happened yet, but hopefully this never happens. But it's if there is a smooth transition, right? I think the concern here is that the military junta, as an institution, has been embedded into Thai politics and the Thai system of governments for about 5 to 7 years. It's for a long time already. So they kind of cemented their position there. And usually institutions are quite sticky and it's hard to remove, especially if a lot of people have benefited from that. So of course they're going to find any way to you come with someone that's willing to unhinge the current institutions and move for something more progressive, which means there's going to be a huge transfer of power from people who have benefited to a new group, basically to a new elite, to a new decision-making elite. So of course, they're going to play any, dirty trick in the book. But I mean, from what I've seen, right, when I talk to some of the Thai people there, the issue with the monarch, which is, the whole idea of less majest laws, right? It's not an anti-monarch stance. A monarch is a symbol for the Thai people, and they definitely want to maintain that institution. It's just that the current king, I think a lot of people are very familiar with his character. So if there's a better candidate for the throne, I think people will be more than happy to take that option. But yes, but of course they're going to use these excuses saying that, oh, this is too progressive. They're going to abolish the monarchy. We're going to see a republic of Thailand. So as just a way to stir up fires, especially for those who are staunch traditionalists and the conservatives. But it's amazing that Japan, right, they have their own monarch as well, which has kind of just taken a more ceremonial role and still quite relevant I don't know how relevant, but I can still see that they're very active like in Japanese society. So, but that's to say that Japan itself isn't really quite squeaky clean when it comes to democratic transitions and democratic, all this democratic experiment in general. They still have that liberal versus conservative paradigm and dichotomy that I think everyone, not just in Asia, but we look at Western countries, it's the same issue as well. It's just what kind of conservatism, what kind of liberalism is being at play here, is being shown. But I do hope to see Peter be the prime minister, because it's a great rallying cry for like, oh, young people coming to the forefront of politics here, and I think that's a huge morale boost for some people, some young youth-based parties here in Malaysia.
I mean, as much as we want Pita to be the next prime minister of Thailand, I think we need to touch base with reality as well, because the second charges, the goings against monarchy, that he could potentially facing a 10-year ban from politics as well. So if you're gonna see him in 2034, he's still gonna have much influence, as much as today, or even bigger then, and he gonna sweep clean the election. But until then, there's a 10 years waiting for him. But one thing I want to touch about how the government works in Thailand is that there's some sort of like interlocking system where you cannot remove the senator, because in order to remove a senator, you need to remove someone from the court or whatever. So this some sort of a systematic interlocking was purposefully being designed in such a way that it would maintain the status quo. And the status quo we're talking about here is the military and the king, because I think as much as the king is being seen as a symbol of the nation, someone that protects a king for all Thais, not just certain group of Thais, but I think behind closed door, the king play a much bigger role in terms of planning it out and giving consent to all this military personnel to do such act. Because I don't think from the backing, if the military don't have the backing of the king, they would have carried this in such manner. I mean, in Malaysia we have the same triangle of power. There's a military, there's a executive, and then there's a king. But military coup never happened here. So the empowerment of military in certain countries like Egypt also, like military coup is part of the puzzle of their politics. So these two countries, once the military involved in the politics, is slippery slopes to just it's going to continue forever and on to maintain the status quo.
Yeah, and I think it's that's I think that's not really an issue with just modern countries. This you can always see, like in huge empires, there's always a military uprising that installs their own preferable leaders to take control of things. And I don't think we've ever really gotten over that. I mean, Thailand, Indonesia, Pakistan. Arguably, you can make the case that the ISA is still in charge of the country. So, so it's luckily we have not been in that kind of situation. I think the military of Malaysia is very well situated away from the allure of power. I mean, from the corridors of power. So it's a very good separation of powers right there, and I think we should be quite grateful about that. But then again, a lot of the time these military coups happen. One is because there's enough civil unrest, either from the elites, from the aristocracy, or from the general public itself. So it's one of the ways that civil unrest can show its discontents on the country and take over. So um, it's a warning as well to a lot of countries that if your military is too powerful, you
Mhm.
better take care of them. And we know, imagine America. I think the American military is very well situated to to imagine the American military launching a coup against Washington. But
Yeah, but obviously,
I think they're too idealistic, but I think they're too patriotic right now to do that.
yeah. So yeah, but our military is far cry from America's military. So I think we are still in no.
But that would be a very interesting situation because the commander in chief of the military is the king. So
Yeah.
very how if it's a simulation of that. I think someone has done a simulation on that before, but I think it's just too much to say.
Yeah, because you cannot avoid the 3R topics
Mhm,
when you want to talk about it, and
mhm.
we know how dangerous it is to talk about 3R topics in Malaysia. Okay, let's go back a little bit to our hometown. The proposal to move Kotinalu International Airport to Kimanis. Kimanis is located around 80 kilometers from where Kotinalu is, the city center. And what's your thought on this, Adi?
80 kilometers. How long do you think it takes to drive there? I mean, roughly. But how long does it take from
Now,
here to get there? With the
now
Pan Borneo?
with the Pen Borneo, I think within 30 minutes should be there.
Maybe 30 minutes if there's no traffic jam, no? If the traffic is okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay. Yeah, it's natural that when the city wants to develop, they would want to put their airports a bit further away so that it reduces noise pollution. Because if we need the city needs land to build, to keep on populating, and as the city grows, so will its especially a city that focuses on tourism, more people will be coming into Sabah through KKIA. So when you have a higher count of traffic, you can't keep up with the demand. So it's going to stagnate the tourism industry or stagnate in general people coming in and out of Sabah. And I think it was current Minister of Industrial Development, Jinjapung, said that KKIA is almost reaching its limit. In the next 5 years, we won't be able to handle the forecasted traffic of tourists and people coming into Sabah. So it's logical to find a new location for an airport. And if you say that with Pen Borneo, Kimanis is half an hour away, but the issue here is that an airport is not just a place where planes land. It has to accommodate maintenance, hangars, and other kinds of supporting infrastructure and facilities. And airports aren't just for transporting people, cargo as well. I mean, some airports are equipped for that kind of feature. So it is a mega project in itself because you're going to expand all these facilities, especially if you want it to be a commercial airport and the main aviation hub in Sabah. So for me, it's logical, but it's a huge undertaking. Which are we really ready for it though? How do we plan it though? How do we go about planning for it?
I think the consultant have a very good idea on how to do it, but do we have the money to? Are we going to rely on the federal government to fund all these projects? Because, like you said, it's not just going to be an airport. The infrastructure surrounding it has to be up as well. Otherwise, they cannot run service. Like, how are the people going to run the FNB if there is no public transportation to the airport? Are we just going to rely on buses? Where's the trend? If we're going to do the trend, can we do the trend before airport sets up? So there's a lot of questions in the infrastructure that needs to be answered before, let's move to Kimanis, which is 80 kilometers from city center, or a lot of people staying in Papar, in KK. So how are we going to drive people to there? So these questions, not just in terms of the airport itself, but rather than the third layer or second layer of supporting this. But I have a better proposal, Adi, if you want to be the judge of this. I think, do you know about Kansai Airport in Japan?
No, please go ahead.
Because it's entirely made up island, so artificial island. So it's just to make the airport. I would suggest that we do a satellite terminal for international incoming flight that we do in Gaya, Pulau Gaya. Hear me out. Once we do, like, we stretch on artificial water, because after Gaya is just the ocean, open ocean, right? So we can stretch the runway there, and then the terminal on the island. Pulau Gaya, as we know, is very big, huge. And the northern part of Pulau Gaya is untouched. Most of the resorts are near the one that facing KK. The villages also facing KK. The northern part, where abundance of it or whatever, but I don't know the typology of the structure, because they say there's a hill or two hills there, so it could be highly elevated. But what I'm saying is, if we position international airport there, and then we do some sort of special underwater train to KK, there's a lot of stages that we can sort of tax or benefit in terms of the arrival of international tourists. Once they land there, they're gonna go through the airport, and then they're gonna have to be forced to take the train to KK, where the good stuff is. So for international travelers, they also be met by I don't know, maybe we can do some casinos there. So whatever the stuff that, because it's an island, it can be duty free as well. It has a natural border, so there's no worry about locals gambling in here or whatever. It's just purely for foreign market, just like how we do to Labuan, like financial offshore. And this is some sort of a gateway, international gateway. For if you want to come into Sabah, you have to go through this, and you have to go through this. You have to go through our terminal, which has a lot of food and whatever that economically benefiting to the locals and the government, because there's a lot of things that you can do. Maybe you charge certain amount of money for the transfer, the train to KK, and that's the only way for them to travel. That's how they do in Kansai Airport. So maybe we should look into that instead of just.
I think Hong Kong did the same when they moved Kai Tak to Cheplakok, right, in the island. Similar idea. I really have no way to gauge or assess whether or not that's a good idea. I mean, ambitious as it is, but I mean, the more you said, okay, develop parts of Gaya Island, okay, that's already going to be a huge undertaking in itself. Okay, but like any other mega project, it's more or less the same. There's a lot of risk reward factors here. But coming from someone that lives in KK, right? Of course, I would rather have my airport just 50 minutes away than having to drive like, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. What happens, like, on the way, halfway to the airport, I forgot, oh no, my passport. Oh, I forgot something. I got that. I have that luxury here in KK, right? So I want something convenient.
Would you be okay if there's a KKIA Express, 15 minutes to the airport? Would you be okay with it?
Is that what is it, like a train, or is it like a?
It's a train. Yeah.
Then
would you be okay with that?
I'm sure that would be okay. But of course, any kind of project will always have to discuss. One is, okay, who wants to finance all of this? Because a train, 1 kilometer of train tracks is really like a few million ringgit already. Two, what kind of land does it go through? I mean, Pamboni itself already has a lot of issues when it comes to land rights and land disputes, right? So if I think this kind of brings up another conversation about how do we manage big mega projects in Sabah when land is such a important factor here. Like, okay, I don't know how it works in like, I don't know, like in KL, right? Because you see that it's easy to, I mean, you see projects happening all the time, right? But I feel in Sabah it may be harder to clear projects just because of public sentiment as well. Of course, it's nice to have all this nice infrastructure, but you always have that potential of stepping on toes. And I think Sabah or the Sabah government, we can be quite sensitive to how people take these projects as well. So that's one. That's managing expectations and managing public sentiment here. I think in KL they have no issue with that, but here because there's so much land, we want to make sure that it's used fairly again, instead of used maximally.
I think normally what they did in Peninsula is that the private sector would fund a majority of it in exchange of the land that they're being vacant of. So the Tanjung Aru land, in exchange to offset the payment or whatever. So in exchange, you can give certain incentive for to own this land. So okay, the land of course still gonna be owned by the state government, but on top of it, the buildings and everything, it's all yours. It's all yours for the church to develop in any way they like. Restriction less because you deal with us in moving the airport. So that could be one way of doing it. But it's just is there enough economic incentive for any foreign company to just come in and put a lot of money in without thinking the ROI first? Because we don't have the population, Adi. In Semenanjung, when they talk about the Sepang, oh yeah, yes, let's. The Japanese wants it, the American wants it, the European wants it, because the sheer population.
Yeah,
But
the
in
economy of
KK, when
scale
you
right
talk
there.
about can you imagine if it's the cost as much as the same of creating KLIA, but in Sabah, economic incentives
Yeah.
in ROI, would that be beneficial for a company, for investor though? So
I mean,
that's
you build the KLA, but your returns are only a quarter of the real KLA,
or even
itself, right?
less.
Yeah, or even less potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're just assuming the numbers right there. But yeah, I mean, so it's really the expectations here. Like, okay, you're projected to become okay. It's projected that KKIA would not be able to handle the income of traffic, right? The flow of traffic. But how much are we planning for? How much are we future proofing this development here? But of course, like let's say, okay, for you, we're doing Pulau Gaya, right? So if it's projected to steadily increase at a certain rate, that means we're going to have to keep on reclaiming more and more land to accommodate more and more flights, right? To have a bigger runway or bigger planes coming in, right? Maybe that, of course, you have to bypass the whole concerns of maritime use, and if you're doing Manis, of course, it's abundance of land, but whether or not the topography can accommodate further expansion. So it's to what extent are we developing and doing all these proposals for? Is it just because we don't want like an airport? Okay, new airport done in 5 years, and then in 5 years or 10 years we have to build another airport, or we have to expand. We have to build that airport or find another location or something like that.
I mean, Sabah already has tourism as one of the pillars of economy, right? Like, so one of the biggest contributor is tourism. So why don't we just double down on that? So that's what I said. Like, we still a little bit from Singapore Changi concept, and a little bit from how what do you call this, Dubai, where it's because KK is, if you think about it, it's much better position for Singapore that to Japan, to Philippines, to New Zealand, due to position to them. So let's say you're taking a flight, right? Like if you're transit from Dubai to KK to, let's say, to Auckland in New Zealand. So that's a pretty balanced distance from either side. So first, that's our part, the position. Secondly, we're gonna double down on the tourism. This is what I mean, a new way of tourism. We more added value in terms of tourism, where it doubles down on one traveler, rather than just like, just, hey, come for our Mount Kinabalu. You go up there, you spend 1,000 ringgit, and then you go down. Maybe you hire a van, and that's about it. This is a double, triple, or fourth layer that we're gonna give it to the tourism, where they're gonna have a casino there, they're gonna have a huge entertainment there, because the entire island is safe and everything. What's not to like? This is and then if you don't want to enjoy the nature, they have to take the train to go to KK, and from KK they can go to Kundasang and whatnot. So these are how you're gonna build on top of what we already have. Of course, people might say that, hey, we need to venture in other industry, but do we have like we question about airport just now? Do we have the money to discover or to explore other industry, or is it better we double down on this and proceeds from this, then we're gonna explore other industry? So I think that's yeah,
It's
that's
the
about it.
question of generalizing or specializing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But that's up for the decision makers to. But I mean, it's a great way to think about how we want, because somehow we still there's a lot of things to experiment with. I keep telling people like, okay, we are okay, even though we don't have much, and we may be starting from zero, but zero has infinite potential. There's all kinds of possibilities, but we need to be able to find out how we want to make use of those possibilities. Where do we want to go? So, and I think that's the exciting part when it comes to talking about how developing Sabah, because I think Port Klang, I mean, Klang is already locked into certain industries already. KL already locked into certain industries and certain functions already. KK, I think, and I think Sarawak also understands this, that Sabah and Sarawak, it's still a wild west frontier to explore what we want to do. But make sure we do it right, and
Yeah.
make sure it benefits everybody.
Yeah, but I think Adi, all this talk is just if we don't settle on our electricity and water,
Yeah,
no one gonna invest a huge sum of money here. It's a waste of money for them, and we're gonna miss out on this as well. Yeah,
don't build your house on quicksand, right?
yeah, these are basic necessity, and we
Yeah,
don't have it.
exactly.
We don't
Okay,
have
yeah.
it.
So solve that first. I think that's the
Yeah,
thing to solve. Our basic necessities, our basic infrastructure. Then we can
talking
talk
about
about
moving an airport,
the
yet we
big,
don't
the
have
big.
electricity.
Yeah, like you said, MRT. Okay, but how are we going to power the MRT?
Yeah, can you
The
imagine? I'm late for
KKIA
my
Express.
flight. I'm late for my flight because I'm stuck.
Blackout on the KKIA Express.
Oh my god, that's gonna be worse, man. Like, damn, that's a nightmare for travelers.
Definitely.
Well, there's a lot to think about for Haji, I think.
Definitely. And for future policymakers and future CMs. Okay.
Until we contest in elections. Yeah.
All the best. Okay, so I think we went from Malaysia to all over the world, back to Thailand, back to Sabah. I think we ended back home here. I think that's a great way to stop. And I think we've already went a bit over time than usual. Usually we end this right before 1 hour, but I think we've went to 1 hour, 10 minutes already. It's okay. We haven't done this in a while, so why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. At least we talk about some of the things that we've been we've been wanting to talk about for a long time. So I guess as we recording this, PRN state election will take place less than 2 weeks. So of course in the next 2 weeks we're going to talk about the results. It's an exciting result. I'm sure a lot of Malaysians are waiting for the results. And will this affect the federal government in any way? That's also going to be answered after post-election. So yeah, there's a lot of things hanging at the balance here. So with the result, we only can find out what happened. Adi, any last word from you?
I can't wait to see what the PRN brings with us, and as usual, we'll see. Also, keep up to date with what kind of things are happening all across the globe, not just Malaysia.
Yeah, I know that we briefly touched on PRN, but of course, in the next coming episode, we're going to talk a little bit more as the campaign now getting more hits up. So yeah, for all of you listening, that we will be talking more about the state elections. And I think today, goodbye for now.
Yeah, and to whoever is campaigning or voting, wish you all the best, and we hope for a result where everyone can be happy. I don't think impossible wishful thinking, but I just hope it will be a smooth transition again.
Yeah, well, that's the essence of democracy, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
With that, see you on the next episode.
Okay, good night.